Here's Brody Brazil.
Hey everybody, just a quick update video on the status of Howard Terminal and this very important offseason for the Oakland A's and their future in the East Bay. Which I feel like all of this has kind of become a back burner topic over the last 2 weeks. And some of it maybe is just inherently the ending of the baseball season. Not as many people are talking about the sport or the team or this issue. But also a big part of it, I think, was the passing of Ray Fosse. Everybody in the A's community was caught off guard of how things progressed, how quickly it happened, and obviously the loss that so many experienced. So I just want to set that into perspective here before we talk the stadium. There have been some other things like the passing of Ray, which have absolutely captivated our attention and maybe given a little bit less of it to Howard Terminal. But now that that's been established, I want to point out 4 things here that I've been thinking about as it relates to the stadium project. Number 1 is Alameda County and whether or not they will actually take up a vote on this on October 26th to be part of the IFD, the Infrastructure Financing District, that the city of Oakland has come up with and proposed in working with the A's. Now, the IFD is essentially property tax from the project area that goes back to the city of Oakland, and if they agree to jump in on it, would also go back to the county of Alameda. Speaking of the county, they have not really talked about this at all since their meeting in mid-June, but when they did, that meeting started off, and I think it was like a 5 or 6 hour marathon, started off pretty contentious. There were a lot of questions. There was a lot of defensive conversation. By the end of it, it seemed pretty productive. They seemed pretty open to the project. Keith Carson said so himself at the end of that. In fact, the video of that is here on my YouTube channel. Check it out. And so now they're going to figure out whether or not to even bring it up, but whether or not to vote on it in terms of a non-binding agreement that would now latch the county of Alameda in tandem with the city of Oakland and maybe the Oakland A's, which I'll get to that point in just a second too. The county of Alameda has been, I don't want to say pressured lately, but it's been influenced by cities now, like the city of Hayward is getting in on this and recommending that Alameda County move forward and be part of this project because of everything it benefits in the county. And there's a lot of other cities, think about Fremont. Oakland itself will play a part, San Leandro. Alameda, I heard, was initially in that conversation, maybe now not so much, but the city's putting a little bit of weight on the county, I think, is a very good thing to be part of this project. There's also been a little bit of momentum on the Board of Supervisors to kind of push this forward to being on the table on October 26th. So that is the next big date. I know we talked a lot about July 20th back in the day. Here on October 26th, that's the next thing we're looking forward to. But point number 2, as part of all this, you remember July 20th, what ultimately came up was that the Oakland City Council had their own proposal, had their own term sheet, had their own different set of plans that they voted on. They voted yes, 6-1, 6 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention. But it was something after the fact that the A's said they necessarily did not fully agree with. So point number 2 here is how far apart are Oakland and the A's still in their agreement? Don't get me wrong, it would be great to have Alameda County now as being in on the project. But if the A's in Oakland still don't see completely eye to eye, obviously we don't have a full deal here yet. How far away are they? Remains to be seen. I think that question has been asked a lot. You hear a lot of different responses. On one side, you hear almost everything is locked up. On another side, you hear we're not there yet. We'll find out. But do the A's in Oakland actually have a deal soon? Alameda County, again, being in would be great, but you need to get the foundation before we start building the rest of this out. Point number 3 here is kind of a question of mine, and I don't want to make this complete speculation, but the mayor race in the city of Oakland is going to take place in 2022. Libby Schaaf will be done with her second term and cannot be reelected. So who's going to be the next mayor of Oakland And look, hopefully by this point of whenever that race is in 2022, hopefully this stadium situation will be very much resolved and in a great place. But the next person who's going to run for mayor, and even right now, as there are people announcing their candidacy for running for mayor the next time around in Oakland, how does all of this affect the Oakland and A's agreement and relationship right now? I don't want to even, throw an idea out here or there or this person or that. But my point is, I think what we're going to see in coming months is that as names emerge and people who want to be mayor put their name in the hat, one of the big, hot button issues is going to be, well, what's the stance on Howard Terminal? How are you getting this done? Can you be the one to ultimately help see this through? There's a lot going on there. And this mayoral race, it's kind of even started already through the process. There are some people on city council who want to be the next mayor. And so, knowing their perspective on Howard Terminal, seeing how they operate as part of this, may be a good thing for them, depending on how they play it, how they play Howard Terminal, or if they don't play it well, it could cost them. Something to think about. And then the last point here, number 4, it's an analogy which I hope is easy to understand, and hopefully this makes a lot of sense and really hits home. Between Oakland and Las Vegas right now, there kind of is a stadium race. Las Vegas is pretty soon going to have, and I think the A's have targeted by the end of the World Series, only a small handful of sites. Remember Dave Kaval said there were a dozen, up to 20-something sites? I mean, you want to do due diligence. They do in that process of looking for something that's reasonable. But once Las Vegas gets it down to 2 or 3 or 4 sites, that's serious competition, right? Now they're starting to get very specific in Southern Nevada. Now, the A's have had one site for several years now. They've done a ton of research. They've done an EIR. They've invested so much money in this one site. That's why it's still their number one. There's no question to me, even from the outside looking in, that's what they're trying to do. But the analogy is like this. Las Vegas is the hare. Like, not that hare, like the rabbit, right? Las Vegas is like the hare. Oakland is like the tortoise. It may be taking Oakland longer to get all this stuff done, but they are ahead in the race. Is that how the analogy works, though? Isn't the rabbit ahead and the rabbit slows down and the turtle catches up? Anyway, it's two different things operating at 2 different speeds. The way this analogy works is that the turtle is way ahead, but it's going at a certain pace and speed, and a lot of good things have happened at Howard Terminal and for Howard Terminal across the last year. They really have. It's something to think about, though, that despite you have a lead, despite you had a head start on all this, Las Vegas is pretty quick. They've got quick legs. They can catch up in this process. So what I'm looking at right now, and I almost said worried about, but what I'm looking at is how many steps can Las Vegas take before Oakland takes a next one, or ultimately a huge one. Kind of scoreboard watching right now. Kind of, I'm not really into the car racing entirely, but it is kind of like that. You have a lead. Both teams and both cars see the finish line up there. Who's going to move towards it faster at this point? So hopefully all that makes sense. October 26th in Alameda County, what happens there? Will the A's and the city of Oakland eventually shake hands on something that would solidify so many other parts of this? What issues are they apart on right now? I'd love to find out more. The mayor's race in Oakland, how will that impact things eventually? And also Oakland versus Las Vegas, a turtle and a rabbit. Turtle's got a lead. Turtle's moving, but you don't want to let that rabbit make it more of a race than it needs to be. All right, those are some quick thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments section below.